Well, Brent Reid has described it as the darkest day in New South Wales Origin history. This, of course, is the man who is currently on social media whistling and trying to skip along while using his right arm and his right leg going together at the same time. So he looks like an old man trying to skip.
Looks like a moron, actually.
Yes, there you
I
go.
love that.
There you go. It's a big call from him, but it was a poor performance, let's be honest.
Well, 2 poor performances in a row.
Yeah.
Over in Perth that first half, and then delivering what they delivered on Wednesday night was disappointing. As a New South Wales fan, is probably the right word. We all thought there would be much more of a fight, but we can point to New South Wales and how they missed the mark, and they certainly did. And all the criticism that comes is certainly warranted, and they'll need to review everything, in their preparation to what led to, playing like that. But you got to give credit to Queensland. They were fantastic. They played an almost perfect game of football. I think they made their first error in 65 or the 66th minute. New South Wales dominated all the stats: field position, possession, time spent in opposition red zone. But Queensland just did what they had to do. They were detailed, they were committed, and they just hung in there and stayed in the fight. And when they got their opportunities, they executed. And as much as I was disappointed for New South Wales and how they played, you got to give credit to Queensland. They were fantastic.
JD, being able to maintain possession doesn't mean anything if you can't actually do something with the ball when you've got it.
It's the biggest myth in the game, completion rates. It really is. Don't get me wrong. If you're completing at 90% and the team's completing at 60%, then completion rate's obviously going to make a difference because you've got no ball. You're under a lot of pressure. But when you're up around the 80s and another team's at 90, it swings around. For me, and I loved what Queensland did. They had a plan. You could feel that through the week, and you could feel that when the teams are announced. Billy knew what he needed to do. He took his lessons from game 2. He knew what he needed to do to get the balance of the squad right, to go to Sydney and win a game. And what did we do? What lessons did we take from game 2? Because we were 26-6 at half-time in game 2. And I feel like the comeback in the second half papered over the cracks. It made us think that, we just got to get it right. We just got to be more disciplined in the first half. If we do that, we'll be sweet. Queensland were never going to come down here and just roll over and say, there you go, guys. What was our plan to counter what we expected them to do? What were we expecting them to do? And then, okay, how are we going to adjust to that? And how are we going to impose our game on them? We were, in my opinion, we were reactive the whole game. From minute 1 to minute 80, we were on the back foot and we were being dictated to by Queensland. With 80,000 people on our home soil, we were dictated to. And that, I'm talking as a fan now, as a New South Welshman who absolutely loved what Madge did last year in terms of the state. Everybody in the state were that excited to watch the Blues play last year. We were that fired up because we could feel the passion and the emotion coming through from what Madge was doing and from the way the team was speaking and the way that, and this year it just felt all series. It didn't feel like we had that same intensity about us. And maybe that was because we thought we could just get it done. Maybe we got a bit of false expectations after game 1. I'm not too sure. The people inside the 4 walls are going to have to investigate that and come up with what they think happened. But from a passionate New South Welshman, it's so frustrating. I was there live. I was so pumped to be there. The team comes out. Mate, the adrenaline in the stadium, everybody in there was so fired up. And then 10 minutes in, the back of your mind, you're going, how is this happening again? Why are we on the back foot so much again in our home game?
Well, how is it happening again?
Well, JD, hit the nail on the head. That was, well said, JD. And I think everyone's dancing around the subject because he's such a good guy. But it's the responsibility of the coach to get the players up for that situation. And as I said, Laurie's a terrific fella, and I'm glad he got his opportunity. But you have to ask question marks around what it is that was done inside a camp to see the performances that we did from New South Wales. It's hard to criticise coaching when you know that he's got Craig Bellamy with him, right? How much did Craig Bellamy do? He's got an assistant coaching staff. He's got Matty King, Dean Young, Brett White. There are a lot of people there. But the coaching, you have to criticise the coaching. And I feel like I'm an idiot saying that, sitting here next to a coach and a former Origin player. But at the end of the day, you look at the way they performed, and I think Phil Gould said they gradually got worse throughout the series. Game 1, they weren't even that good. It's just a reflection of how bad Queensland were. So that's the problem. That's probably the troubling thing. And then Laurie Daley after the game was asked about.
Well, let's actually have a listen to Laurie Daley directly after the game.
Laurie, do you think you should be the coach of the Blues next year?
Most definitely. Yeah, where are you from? Oh, thank you.
What gives you the confidence that you can now, Laurie?
Oh, I think what we've been building. I think I was disappointed with the result. I think the players have had a really good campaign. We just sort of didn't nail the moments, so we're going to make sure that we're better at that.
Fans aren't really keen on building towards next year, are they? They're all about this year.
They're all about
every
this year.
Origin.
And listen, they're all going to be under review as well, and particularly Laurie and how he coached. But it's not all on Laurie. Like the players at that level, there needs to be some accountability. Now, I know you said Queensland dominated for the whole game, but it's for the first 5 minutes, New South Wales actually had an opportunity to really put some pressure on Queensland. Luai missed his execution on a kick, which in terms of that kick, it wasn't a hard one to get right. He's better than that and should have been better than that. They get a 20-metre tap. They go up the other end. Stephen Crichton gives away a last tackle penalty. After no doubt all week they would have spoke about discipline after game 2. They kick a goal and they just couldn't get back into the game after that. And the Harry Grant try, like seriously, there was 4 New South Wales players around him. I know Harry Grant's a fantastic player and Queensland had momentum, but at that level, those guys need to be better. Now, that's not up to Laws. Laws ain't on the field there. And yes, there's probably details and attitude adjustments in their preparation that they need to hit the nail on the head. But, mate, the players have got to take some accountability as well for not getting that done.
Without doubt. But that try, if you go back 3 or 4 minutes, there's an early tackle kick from Nathan Cleary, a great kick, and they got to get right back and pick it up off their try line. And New South Wales ramp up their D, and they kick from their own 20-metre line. We bret the ball back to Edwards, brings the ball back, hits Totlaw down the sideline. We get tackled 1 on the halfway. 14-0 down, plenty to play for. Go into half-time, let's go after some points. We get 4 one-out carries, and then we shift it to a poor pass and a turnover 30 metres off their try line. 4 tackles later, we give a penalty away for the hammer incident. Then we they put a good set on us and get a repeat set. Then this is what I'm talking about. When they got their opportunity on our try line compared to the opportunity we just had, they absolutely nailed that set. From the kickoff, Collins dented the line, found his front. We went straight after the 3 and 4 defender at Cleary and got a quick play of the ball. Then what the halfback did and straight through, nearly busted through straight again at our 3 and 4. Quick play of the ball, and then we're all standing around waiting. We had our chance. Yeah. We earned the right to have our crack at him, and we just put nothing at him. It wasn't until the 55th minute where we went play for play, where we moved the ball to Latrell, and then we moved the ball coast to coast, and Crichton walked a try in. He got not a hand laid on him from 25 out. Good, and cruised in, put the ball down. We never looked like doing that. And that's the question the players need to ask. And that's the staff will know. They'll know, okay, well, we planned that. Why didn't they do that? And sometimes that's looking at the personnel. Did we pick the personnel that were the right guys to get this job done?
Well, even in that, you talk about those Harry Grant try. Like Stefano was gassed in that period there, and I think that was probably the 2 big question marks in selection. I think that he nailed a lot of those selections, Laurie. But the 2 big question marks are: should Kaloa Matangi have been picked ahead of Stefano, and Terrell may not getting picked? Like if you look back, and maybe some people argue Appy should have been in the side as well. Do you think selection-wise New South Wales got it right through the series? Because Billy, even after winning game 2, he made some big calls, whereas New South Wales just sort of had a plan in mind and they stuck with it.
I personally think, and I said it at the start of Origin, so I'm not just saying it at the end of Origin, I would have kept Jake Trbojevic in the team.
Yeah.
Because Jake oozes passion. You lost Cam Murray, and then we lost Barnett, and Jake wasn't ready for game 1. I thought game 2 was the time to bring him back in because he has never let the state down. He knows Origin. And he gives people around him confidence and passion. And sometimes you need those kind of players in the dressing room. Instead, we bring in who I thought did a decent job, did his job. Max King did it well. And then Stefano, these guys are rookies, so they're not going to bring a lot in terms of galvanising the group in the middle third. But the other one for me, which really stood out throughout the series, and in game 1 we got a lot of momentum, so there was the middles were carrying the ball a lot. But We don't have the organising ball-playing 9 that Queensland have. They have Harry Grant, who can control everything in and around the ruck. We have Reece Robson, who's really aggressive, tough defender and great at what he does. But we can then compensate that with Isaiah Yeo and his ability to manage games and move the ball and use his skill the way he does, which helps his halves get in the game and brings his edges into the game. He barely looked like passing the ball throughout the series. He passed the ball a lot less than he does. And everyone says we're playing Penrith footy. Well, I don't think we were, because Penrith footy is Isaiah Yeo touching the ball a hell of a lot, and he hardly touched it in terms of ball play. It wasn't until 70th minute where he started to ball, and we started getting some joy. So I'm questioning, as a team, as the leaders in the team, well, why did we undervalue what Isaiah Yeo does? And was that something we missed? And if it was, then again, Cam Murray wasn't in the side.
Yeah.
We underestimate how big a loss he was, Cam Murray and Barnett. But Queensland, they had players missing their captain who didn't train with them all week.
Can that we talk about emotion, what those teams look like? Can the emotion surrounding Cam Munster, could have that robbed New South Wales of some of their own emotion?
Oh, no. Emotion is a big part of our game, and it's how you use that emotion. You know, it can be positive for the team and bring everyone together, but it can also be a distraction and be an issue. But there's no doubt that Queensland, like that circumstance, is one of a kind. Hopefully we never see anything like that. Cam Munster to even show up to play, it was an unbelievable effort, so courageous, and to have his family on board throughout that circumstance within the team. Certainly the team will rally around him, and that's actually where I want to go in terms of, I know we're critical of New South Wales, and they missed the mark, and they need to look at themselves and work out where they can get better, but we can't understate how good Queensland were in that game. They were well prepared. They were across every detail. Like JD said, they knew exactly how they wanted to play, and they were just relentless at going at it. Like Tommy Dearden, he was good in game one, limited opportunity. The big decision to bring him in Cherry Evans wins the Wally Lewis medal. Munster going through what he went through, got out there, led the team in game 2 and did his job in game 3. The Hammer, he played 3 positions throughout the series. First player to ever do that. And that close support was just an example that we actually got away with one too when Cotter went through, because the Hammer was looming and Cotter missed him. But that the offload from Toya, just half an opportunity, he made New South Wales pay. Val Holmes, like that, some of his defence, that shot on Angus Crichton, and no one does that to Angus Crichton. It just shows a level of attitude and commitment to the team, and they beat New South Wales to the punch, and that's basically it. We got beat by a better team on Wednesday night, and yes, we need to look at ourselves and how and where we can improve, but you also got to give Queensland credit. Like they were ready to go, and they delivered.
I agree with what Wade's saying. Like Queensland were phenomenal, but did we expect them to be anything different? Did we expect Cameron Munster not to put his hand up and play for his state and lead the way? I definitely expected him to play, because I know that's the kind of character he is. And, of course, that would have galvanised his team. But for us, what was our motivation? Where were we getting our hunger from? And I'm not questioning whether we were all this rubbish about Queenslanders get Origin more. It's absolute rubbish. We saw that last year. But if you go back to Game 3 last year, Queensland had a lot of injuries in their side. And that Game 3 was a phenomenal game of footy.
Classic, yep.
It was end to end, and we ended up getting the result, but it was a brutal game of footy. It was one of the best Origins I've ever seen, and that's the thing about this game. It wasn't so much that we lost. It was the manner in which we lost. It was the performance. If we have absolutely dialed in and gave everything we thought we could give as a state would be proud, and we'd be going, okay, Queensland got us, and they had that little bit extra on the night, but we never got close to that, and that's where the review starts for me. That's where it starts. How come we weren't ready, dialed in, ready to go?